what travels? So what is funny in English and in French?
So, yeah, the complicated word jokes and things don't work very well. I've got a couple of examples of that. There's one famous example, which I'll try and give to you very briefly, right? So the story goes like this. I was doing a show with a friend of mine and in a basement room in Paris, and I was up first, and there were about maybe 10 people in the room, something like that, 10 or 15 people in the room. I was like doing bits of crowd work. A couple of people arrived late. Okay. And they came in, they were sitting down. I was like, right, I've got to deal with that. So I said to them, hey guys, where are you from? You're late, so you must be French, which is one of those little things that will make a French audience laugh because, hey, yeah, French people are late, aren't they? 15 minutes late every time. So, hey, you're late. You must be French. And they said, no, we're Russian. And I'm very proud to say that I instantly went, oh, well, you weren't Russian to come here, were you? Right? That's the first thing that came into my brain. And I said that. I was like, this is good.
Yeah, that is good.
You weren't Russian to come here, were you? Just silence. None of them. I felt like none of them had noticed that a joke had happened.
Yeah.
But they hadn't realized. So I was like, sometimes when that happens, you can kind of back up and say, I think you missed a joke there, because you can kind of say it again and you'll get them the second time round, which is kind of breaking the rules, breaking the fourth wall or something. Not that there are any rules really in stand-up, but anyway, they say that if you have to explain a joke, then it's not very good. But anyway, normally if you put it back on them and say, that you missed something there, because your English isn't good enough. The French people can take that, they don't mind being abused a little bit, for some reason. So I did that. I was like, oh, you missed a very funny joke there. Those people came in late and they said, where are you from? We're Russian. I said, well, you weren't Russian to come here, were you? Still complete silence, like they were just looking at me. My mate was like falling off the chair at the back of the room. So anyway, that was awful, and then I carried on with the show and just moved on, But then my friend and I were on the podcast with another friend of ours, and we told her about this story. We explained the story, blah blah blah. Weren't Russian to come here, blah blah blah, and she found it funny. But then I got all these comments from people saying, "What? I didn't understand the Russian joke. What did you say?"
Yeah.
And the Russian people, especially, were like, "What's he saying about Russian people?"
That's so classic.
And so maybe in the next episode or another one, I was like, oh, but what? People didn't understand that joke. Let me explain it for you.
Yeah.
So I told the story of how I told the joke, explained the joke, and then have to explain it again. And then after all these other people heard that, I got more comments from people saying, I didn't understand. What are you saying about Russian people? And it just goes, and every time it gets mentioned, someone's like, huh, what? And they write a comment where they need it to be explained, to the point where my friend Paul, now every time he's on the podcast, he has to say it, he has to mention it because he knows that it's going to get people to comment. And I even made a video. I was like, right, I've just got to make a video explaining this. So I made a video and published it. And even in the comments of the video, there's people saying, I don't understand. Can someone explain this joke? It's like, that's the whole video, is me explaining it. And then, and one person wrote, I think the problem here is that for Russian people, the word Russian and rushing sound the same. I was like, that's not the problem. That's the joke. That's not a problem. And I got one email from a Russian listener who was like, I'm very disappointed by you, Luke. And just like, what do you? The joke that you made is very inappropriate. You're saying that Russian people are always rushing into other countries.
Oh,
long email.
Blimey.
I wrote back just saying, no, that's nothing to do with it. Did you not hear me explain it a million times? It's just a word joke. And now my mate Paul, who is a really successful comedian, tells this story on stage, which is fine by me. He's doing this in front of thousands of people, telling this whole story. So it's become sort of a legendary story.